Welcome back. On Monday, the city of Appleton announcing the formation of a task force to address housing needs. Now, the goal of this task force is to improve housing production in the city and support affordability. Members include the Home Builders Association of the Fox Cities, Realtors Association of Northeast Wisconsin, Fox Cities Chamber of Commerce, and Habitat for Humanity Fox Cities. And we welcome in Kara Homan. She is the city's Community and Economic Development Director. So you really have acquired people from probably all angles of this problem, Kara. How did you decide on who was going to be a part of this?
We really wanted to move the needle on housing production because that's really critical to solving the housing crisis. So we wanted to make sure we were taking a really proactive approach and handling things from all angles, from the business community, from workforce development, and making sure the types of housing developers that we had on the committee represented both the nonprofit and lower end of the income spectrum, such as the representatives from Habitat for Humanity, as well as builders who are building market rate production style housing.
One of the stated goals for your task force, Kara, is to, quote, reduce barriers, end quote, to housing production in the city. So what do you see right now as current barriers to housing production?
So some of the barriers are barriers that are difficult for us to solve at the local level. So strong headwinds we're seeing in the housing production space are around interest rates that a builder or a developer might have for borrowing and costs for their development. There's also the headwinds of interest rates for the homeowner for that 30-year, 15-year mortgage. Other barriers we're seeing at the federal level or global level have to do with inflationary costs, supply chain issues, the increasing cost of labor to build a new home. The barriers we're really looking to tackle from a local perspective that we know we can make headway on are things around infrastructure. And more importantly, what sorts of land use, zoning, and other municipal code reforms do we need to make sure that we don't have requirements or density standards or land use standards in place that don't allow a builder to meet the market and build homes that that they can do and produce the types of homes that are needed by the general population can be built.
One thing that's always talked about is variety, right? So single family homes, multifamily homes, all those kinds of things need to be addressed. It's interesting that Outagamie County last June released the findings of their task force that they had put together to look at housing needs, found that the county will need somewhere between 10 and 18,000 units produced by the year 2030. So how much of what your task force is going to do is kind of picking up on what those findings were?
It really is. And I recently joined the city of Appleton from Outagamie County, so I'm intimately aware of the recommendations that were included. There were a handful of recommendations that we are really picking up and using this city of Appleton specific task force to implement. And some of the recommendations were around increasing supply and undertaking things around zoning and land use reform that the county itself, it's more difficult for them to implement that because the land use authority, in particular where the majority of the demand is, occurs in the cities and villages. So it's really getting around how do we need to relook at our zoning code and our land division code to make sure that in addition to the types of development you typically see, which is single family home and larger apartment style buildings, how do we accomplish that missing middle that meets senior housing needs, meets new professional needs that tend to be in the duplex, townhome, or garden style apartment style of development.
Again, back to that variety that we had mentioned. So one of the things that came out of that Outagamie County Task Force was you have great ideas, you get started, but you got to implement, right? So do you have a timetable for when you're going to wrap this up and when you hope that maybe you can start implementing some of these ideas?
Yeah, so the task force, we're hoping that the work they undertake will occur in about a 3 to 4 month period. And then they'll make strategic recommendations to the city. And my planning and community development team here at the city of Appleton is ready to start working on things immediately. We've already to date, even before this task force, done some incremental code reforms. So we're hopeful that once we have clear guidance on what some of those things are, that we can get to work with the in-house expertise we have immediately.
All right, Kara, thanks so much for the time and good luck with this task force.
Thank you so much. Take care.